This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman as we turn to Puerto Rico, where President Trump has signed an emergency declaration after a 6.4 magnitude earthquake rocked the island Tuesday morning, killing at least one person, plunging nearly the entire population into darkness and a mass power outage. It's the most powerful earthquake to hit Puerto Rico in more than a century. Hundreds of quakes have rattled Puerto Rico since late December. A 5.8 magnitude quake struck Monday, damaging the coastal town of Guánica. Damage from the earthquakes have left nearly 350 people homeless, at least 300,000 without drinking water. Puerto Rico Governor Wanda Vázquez says power would be restored throughout most of the island within 24 to 48 hours. Schools on the island remain closed Wednesday. The disaster declaration comes as the U.S. continues to hold up federal aid to Puerto Rico for recovery from Hurricane Maria, which devastated the island in 2017, killing at least 3,000 people, although some counts say the death toll is likely much higher. The storm left Puerto Rico in the dark for months and the longest blackout in U.S. history. We go now to San Juan, where we're joined by Yarimar Bonilla, political anthropologist at the City University of New York, co-editor of the anthology Aftershocks of Disaster, Puerto Rico Before and After the Storm. Aftershocks has taken on a new meaning, Yarimar, Professor Bonilla. If you can talk about what has happened now, how much electricity is restored, water, how is the island being taken care of right now?
So an estimated quarter to one-third of the population has electricity back again. This after they were originally told that the whole island would have electricity back by noon yesterday. So a lot of folks are frustrated and feeling that this is like an aftershock of Hurricane Maria, or just a repetition of it in terms of government mismanagement, lack of information, problems with infrastructure, and these kind of infrastructural aftershocks that are not just about the earth shaking, but really about a lack of preparedness on the part of the government, and also a deep fragility and vulnerability that was pre-existing because of Hurricane Maria and the debt crisis and everything that placed us in the path of Hurricane Maria being devastating.
What about the emergency response of President Trump? What does this mean for the island? Certainly fiercely criticized for what he did after Maria and the aftermath right through to today.
Yeah, well, we're grateful that he hasn't tweeted anything offensive about us this time. So, small favors. And, it is important that he signed that emergency declaration, although, it's hard to know what that will mean since we're still waiting to receive the funds from the emergency declaration of more than 2 years ago. And that holdup of funds has meant that, roads haven't been repaired, schools that serve as shelters are in disarray. There's a lack of infrastructure and preparedness that is still, being attended to from the last, climatic event. So it's unclear when that emergency aid will kick in. Certainly, folks here are not waiting for it.
And can you talk about the response of Governor Wanda Vázquez, certainly a controversial governor, following the ouster of Governor Vasquezs? We're going to turn right now to a clip of Wanda Vázquez, the Puerto Rican governor, declaring a state of emergency throughout the island.
I have just signed a declaration of state of emergency. We have declared a state of emergency for all of Puerto Rico. We all felt the earthquake, so we all can benefit from this declaration, and we can make evaluations for our municipalities and our residences, so we can have a clear picture of what the consequences of this earthquake is. At the same time, I have signed a declaration activating the National Guard of Puerto Rico, so the National Guard can assist us in any way necessary. We have to manage the situation calmly. We are all worried, we are all anxious and nervous. It is natural. We are talking about a situation that Puerto Rico had not experienced in the last 102 years.
That is Governor Wanda Vázquez. And I also want to read a clip from Professor Yarimar Bonilla's book, Aftershock of Disaster, where she and co-editor Marisol Lebrun write, quote, "Since Hurricane Maria made landfall, Puerto Ricans have found themselves relentlessly jolted by the storm's aftershocks. This happens every time systemic failures are revealed, death and damages are denied, aid is refused, profiteering is discovered, and officials who were not elected by local residents make drastic decisions about the island's future. Aftershocks remind us that disasters are not singular events, but ongoing processes." We just are going right now back to Yarimar Bonilla. The studio that we were talking to her in San Juan has just lost power. Professor Bonilla, we have you on the telephone. Describe the scene right now.
Yes, what has become a regular occurrence here in Puerto Rico. We lost power and the generator, took a hit. So we're still waiting to get the generator back up.
And what kind of word are you hearing from hospitals? The head of the electric company said most have electricity restored, but this is so incredibly dangerous at a time like this.
Yes, I think the part of what's important to distinguish between now and Hurricane Maria is that it's a little bit more geographically contained, the infrastructural damage. The epicenter is in the southern coast of Puerto Rico. And I know a lot of folks, who have family here are worried about their family members throughout the island. But really, it is mostly in the southern coast where people are sleeping outside, having repeated tremors, etc. In the northern coast and the rest of Puerto Rico, we are feeling some aftershocks of the earthquake, but it's mostly infrastructural issues such as this. And the roads are a little bit better here, so we don't have the problems that we had in Maria of people not being able to get to a hospital and of supplies not being able to get to people. So it's a little bit of a better situation, even though it's nerve-wracking in a different sense.
Well,
because unlike Hurricane Maria, we don't know when.
I thank you so much for you joining us again. The studio just lost power in San Juan as we talk about the aftershock of the earthquake. Yarimar Bonilla of CUNY. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.